Yeah, thank you very much. You see, my brother, I don't like the discussion of coalitions before the election's outcome because it leads to people being reluctant or lazy and knowing that whatever happens, we are going to go in through the back doors. So even in the EFF, such a discussion is not taking place. But, you know, ATM, PAC, Azapo, and them, those are our brothers. And whatever happens, we won't leave them behind. Because PAC and Azapo, they've canvassed these grounds long before us. And they understand these policies that we're articulating much better than we do because we're learning from them. And therefore, whatever happens, we'll always be together with those organizations. You know, as an operative, you don't need any kind of material evidence to prove there was state-sponsored sabotage. Because that thing of Ngizwe, we just wake up one morning, Motolo says he's a deputy president of Ngizwe. So what more do you want? When the ANC provincial secretary says, I'm a deputy president of this tribalistic organization masquerading as a cultural group. Apparel the brain root. And then he comes, the same organization that he says he's a president of, stone throw away from us, wants to organize illegal event in an attempt to sabotage the EFF, and then we're asked, where is the evidence? When it's just right there in front of you. And you know how these things work. You will never touch the operations of state security or anything of that sort. You just know, and you know how to counter them. Mtolo went to meet with the bus owners and told them not to give us buses. He had a meeting with them. And one of them told him, Mfanagiti, if you still respect yourself, must never come back to me with that nonsense again. No one interferes in my business. I don't care whether you're EFF or ANC. Don't try that nonsense with me. And he told him, I'm going to tell them. Because we have been operating buses for all political parties. Not once has the EFF ever come to us to ask us not to give ANC buses. We've never done that. We don't understand why do people do that to us. We never stop anyone bus. We never go to anyone not to give anyone buses. In KZN, where I was organizing community meetings, the ANC organizes a counter right next to where our community meeting is happening. And no one speaks about political intolerance that is caused by the ANC in KZN. A very volatile province, very sensitive province. The ANC wants to start black on black violence. Why do you go to the EFF meeting? Because no one in the EFF organizes a meeting because the ANC has organized a meeting. There is no such a policy in the EFF. That's why there is nothing wrong with those kids of the EFF seeing Ramaphosa in a voting station going to shake hands with him. There's nothing wrong with that. I do that with ANC members. And then some people who wants to sound more radical than radicalism itself, they say, these EFF people are sellouts. Why are they shaking Ramaphosa's hands? What does that have to do with anything? Here is a man who leads a political party, who's a well-known personality in South Africa, who comes into your station, and then you are going to greet. There's nothing wrong. That is the highest form of political tolerance. The ANC, when you visit a voting station, they go take a baggie. That is not part of anything. Once they know you are coming, they mobilize people to that voting station. You know how the gazebos are done. We do them next to each other and all of that. When you are about to address your people, they pump music. That is political intolerance. Political intolerance is not violence. It's political intolerance that leads to violence. Because if the EFF people say, but no, but our president is speaking, switch off this thing, then they don't tolerate each other like that, then violence starts. Everywhere, and I thought the IFP was the one that was violent in KZN and killing our people in KZN. I think the ANC killed more people in KZN than the IFP. And I think the ANC is at the center of political violence in KZN. Their level of intolerance is extreme. I've never come to experience it anywhere in the country. Anywhere. I've been blocked to enter voting stations before by ANC people. An old man. I know so it's any fashion in. And not hunters, a pinkinyana so. Brutal fruit. Mukhalabo mungwa no brutal fruit ya mimuka mukhalab. Ka long term ya brutal fruit ya. You know, I just went to him, I said, let me tell you, you can go jump up and down. I'm going to enter. I'm not going to live here without entering this place. He finished that long term of brutal fruit. For sure he was still going to procure more. Then I entered there. Because those people of the ANC, they get bought with alcohol. So the level of intolerance in that place by the ANC, it must be reported to the IEC, and Mukwanazi must nip it on the bud if he wants to control that province. Especially now, with new developments of a new political party in KZN. We've already seen videos where they were destroying the gazebo of MK. You will never see this fascist organization, this reckless organization, this useless organization called EFF engaged in such activities. We don't. We don't. You can say whatever you want to say about us. We don't. We exercise maximum discipline in everything else we do. Still, we are not enough on the faces of our critics, despite being one of the best organizations when it comes to mobilization, organization, and discipline. Man, you and I were asking me about my calls with my ministers. I've got my cabinet in that cabinet, so why are you asking me? It's the conversation between the president and the ministers. They are already reporting, already there. I'm receiving reports. So, but they were deployed. People were deployed to check if there is any buzz from outside. And they gave negative report. Our evaluation, 10. We are the best. The best. There's no organization when it comes to participation in parliament that is better than the EFF. That's why they removed it now, because they were missing turning that parliament into a bedroom. So we have kept that parliament alive. We have kept the ministers accountable. We have kept the parliamentary presiding officers on their toes. We have put proposals before that parliament on how we can improve legislation in the country. We write laws. And they sabotage us. I mean, the law on establishment of a state bank, it's ours. And the good thing with Parliament is that the records are there. So, parliamentary oversight, number one. There is no parliamentary oversight where you can't find the red overalls. We are at work. And that's why these South Africans are now saying, we think there must be number one. If they can't be number one, there must be number two. Because they've made that observation. Let's take Gauteng, for instance. The ANC issues a statement that our provincial secretary is earning money from Gauteng legislature, and he has never been to the legislature. We say to them, Parliament thinks the good thing about them, they are public records. Go and retract that record. They get irritated with the leader of the EFF, they lie about him. A complete lie. We don't miss legislature. None of the EFF people will miss legislature without a reason. None of the EFF people will not go to legislature oversight without a reason. We've got GTU that keeps track of all of them, one by one, including our councillors. So we take this thing of Parliament very serious because we know it can change the lives of our people. We were told that we are the ones who are favoring Ramaphosa. I've got a very close personal relationship with the president. And we don't stay far from each other, by the way. The other day I was driving myself and he was walking. And then I saw him. I parked right next to him. If I wanted to kill him, I could have killed. I could have killed that guy. So I open a window. When I open a window, he turns. He's like, what are you doing? What do you mean? He says, why are you driving yourself? Why are you walking alone? He says, no, I'm just taking a walk. So our relationship is like that. But we disagree politically. And it doesn't make us enemies. I'm not his enemy. If they view me as their enemy, I don't have a problem. My level of political understanding and tolerance is at another level. You can't match it. No one in this country can match it. No one. You can disagree anyhow you disagree with me. You can insult me anyhow you want to insult me. I will still be your friend. I know what Muzwandile Masina is doing in Ikuruleni against the EFF and all of that. But I won't miss his funeral if he dies. I'll be there to bury him as a brother, despite our political differences. Because I must differentiate the two. So that's the kind of leadership you get when you interact with the leadership of the EFF. Politically, very sharp, robust, fearless in character, but very good at heart. We love our people. We love our people, and we can't say we love our people and have personal hatred with the people we disagree with. No, we don't want to. We don't wish them death. Load shedding can end in 6 months. Brian Molefe is waiting, Shem, ready. Mashela Koko is waiting, ready. And many other professionals, including the current CEO, by the way, of ESCOM. He's a man that can get the job done. He will need to invite the best engineers, including the old man who was the CEO before, Maroka. When you are in crisis, you bring out your best of the best, including those who are in retirement. He just said he was on retirement. He got invited back to come and help. You go and look for the best. We don't have business in making money in ESCOM. That's why we don't care who's going to be what, because we don't want tenders in ESCOM. We don't want tenders in ESCOM. We want to give our people electricity. So the coal stations are going to be used. I hear you saying, no, in your manifesto you're acknowledging those agreements. Those agreements, we'll see them after. What is number one? Load shedding must end. And anyone who's going to tell us about agreements must tell us, what do we do with this crisis? We have a crisis now. We can't wait for wind. We can't wait for an alternative. We are going to use coal and we are going to service our power stations. It's going to be compulsory to service our power stations. Until we are stable, then we can listen to these many noises. We are not opposed to them. Mara snenkinga. We have to solve the problem now. And that's what we're going to do. We will solve it, my brother. There's nothing we have ever said we'll do and we won't do it. We'll solve it. If it means permanent deployment of ministers and the president to the power stations to work from there, they will go and work from there. I'm not that kind of president like Ramaphosa who goes and find that thing of Hammanskraal not working. That thing that's supposed to give water treatment plant. Yeah. Roy what? Roy Val. Ramaphosa goes to see Roy Val after the people died in Hammanskraal. That's a crisis. He comes back and he says, I'm going to solve this problem. He comes back. There's no any problem solved. And then you call yourself president. Apemuna, you are a policy when you are a president. When you say this Roy Val must be resolved and I need it resolved within a month, it must happen. Otherwise, heads must roll. We have a situation where people died in Hammanskraal. The president has been there. Nothing has changed to date. Why is he called an executive president? Because he can take that project into his office. Ministers, in a simple language, they are called assistants of the president. So when you are a minister of education, you are an assistant of the president on matters of education. You can take that power, president, anytime if you don't use it properly. So you've got a man who's so indecisive. He took state security into his office. Why? Slash fund. Because he knew the Jewish community is no longer going to give him money. White people are no longer going to give him money. And he needs money to fight his campaign in the ANC and to fight his campaign in the county. He took state security. For what? To do what with the state security? Because that's not our problem. That's not our priority. So you can see that that is for stealing. Roy Val, the man has been to Roy Val. Till today, Roy Val is not working. You make me the president of this country, Roy Val will be fixed in a month's time. 24 hours, 24/7 workmanship. This thing of South Africa of working during the day only, I don't understand. Why do you worship night? Hey, you like night, man. Isn't the point not to sleep and rest? So why do you think sleep can only happen at night? We need to start working at night if we want work done. And don't say to me, you are going to increase the budget. With the same budget, because this budget was going to take 6 months. You use it in 1 month, the same budget. What money? Why do you ask me, where will I get the money? The money is there. We take long on useless things. President works from Pretoria. Why is President not opening just a satellite office at Roy Val? that in this age, people die of cholera because they are supplied wrong water, and those people are in Tshwane. Can you imagine the people of Bloberg? So, load shedding is man-made and can only be ended by men. We need men and women who are not scared to take decisions. We are here to take decisions. Not this thing of Sputa running around and talking English and thinking every Sunday press conference will make him an instant celebrity. We're not looking for celebrity here. We're looking for engineers who are going to find a permanent solution, an agent permanent solution. And we'll do it. Our manifesto is not pie in the sky. Tell me what? Single one thing and say, this is madness. Tell me why. There's no single, you can't say to me, why would you say you'll give graduates money? Where will the money come from? They are giving graduates money now. What do you say? Graduates with no source of income and no employment are given 350. There is a doctor somewhere who's called an unemployed doctor who gets 350. Why are you doing that to kids? Why would you give a doctor 350? The same as matriculous person. They are giving people money now. So when you say to us, it's not possible what you're talking, we're not talking about something else. We're just talking about topping it up according to qualifications. The EFF says in its manifesto, every doctor who is in community service, once is going to finish in the next 6 months, he must be placed already. You can never say we've got too much doctors. We can take them to rural clinics. We can take them anywhere. The man here just said he's got a mobile hospital. We can put them there. There will never be too many nurses. Not too many nurses. I think the input on partnership is misplaced, SG. That's yours. I think you'll deal with the gentleman after this. Yeah. ICJ Palestine, we're with Palestine, Magai. How we make no apology about that. We will never be on the side of apartheid when we are the victims of apartheid. We refuse Israel, apartheid Israel, to wipe off the earth the Palestinians. Not under our watch. We are nobodies. We are children of the victims of apartheid. With our little influence in our little corner, we shall raise the Palestinian flag unapologetically so. We don't pretend about this. The ANC pretends because we passed a resolution in parliament that the Israeli embassy must be removed. Why is that embassy still opened? They are pretending to be doing something with this public relation ICJ. There is a fresh attack. Now we must go back to ICJ and say, no, you must implement your judgment. Your judgment must be implemented. That is public relations. The real action, if you mean it, close the Israeli embassy. We are being mobilized here by the media and everyone else to concentrate on nonsense of ICJ. Let's close the Israeli embassy as agreed to by parliament. If we are brave and stop acting like we are rushing to a multinational bodies that are toothless. We support that action fully, but we think there is a more impactful action that we can take in support of the people of Palestine, and that is closing of the Israeli embassy. Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC must stop being pretentious, busy over nothing. on the Palestinian question. Let's close the embassy. Parliament has said we must close the embassy. That is not a declaration of hatred against the Jews. We never said we are fighting the Jews. We are fighting apartheid Israel. There's a difference. And we make no apology about that. There was a question about prediction. Huh?
Yes, elections. When do you think the elections will take place?
Oh, the date. Yes, yes. Aye, this guy is hiding the thing. He's not talking. He's not budging. I don't know. He thinks he can buy himself some time. Look, let's to see that you are dealing with a crook. Look at 2019. It's 2019, right? 2019 election was announced during the state of the election. You know, the state of the nation. The election date was announced during the State of the Nation address in 2019. You know why he did that? Because he was still hot at the time. He knew, I can't postpone this. I must hit while the iron is still hot. He announced it because he knew all ratings were like the mayor. Now all ratings are like, Namba Mkondo. But no, let's buy ourselves some time. Maybe these guys will create a mistake or something, and then this thing becomes more expensive for us. Because after we launch a manifesto, you must immediately release a poster which has got election date. Because as you give people the theme, you must also give them the date so they internalize it. And then they make their plans and all of it. Artsi, maybe with the announcer today, we don't know. But the guy is refusing with the date. And we can only wait. Then if he wants to go beyond March, the Constitution allows him. It looks like he's got until August. Until then, there's nothing we can do. And if he takes this election to August, things will be worse in this country. My guy, why should we care about whether there will be retaliation from the West? We are engaged in a struggle against imperialism and colonialism. And we make no apology that we are not friends with the West. It doesn't mean we can't trade with them. We'll trade with them through our own terms. They will not come and impose themselves on us like they are doing with the ANC. We are not part of CODESA. We've never had a facilitation between the Boers and the owners of the means of production here in South Africa and the ANC that was facilitated by Britain and all of that. This democracy came because the Oppenheimers left the country to go and meet the ANC in exile and said to the ANC, we are going to tell the National Party to end apartheid and you are going to come back and govern, and you govern business as usual. Nothing changes. The ANC said yes. We don't have such an agreement with the West, with America, with the Oppenheimers. We don't know the Oppenheimers. Now when I saw the Oppenheimers for the first time, was there at Prince Mangosuthu Buthelez's funeral. I was like, this guy is a big guy. Even the Oppenheimers get out of their house to come and bury him. And the way they were so in charge, they were not sitting down in a funeral. They were going up and down. O ka re ke di waiter so. Ke re makgwa a o emema ke bo mang. Floyd a ke re wa ba tseba ke aba bitsa ka maina re o ke mang. Okay. The Oppenheimers themselves, the owners of South Africa. So we have no time for those people. We are going to reclaim our country. We are going to work with the Oppenheimers. We are going to work with Rupert through our own terms. He won't tell us what to do. He's a respected businessman, The Oppenheimers are respected business people. But it can't be business as usual. That's all we're saying. It can't be business as usual. Something has to give. We're not going to be controlled by Rupert here, who speaks to them like little kids. You must go and ask how Rupert speaks to your ministers. You can't try that with me. A white man. I don't care if you've got money or you don't have. I used to have a white mentor in Polokwane called Jimmy Contompelitos or something. One day he spoke to me in a bad way in a meeting. I said, you must never try that. He thought I was joking. I stood up. I said, no. No white man speaks to me like that. You don't do that. Don't do it. I don't care whether he was my man. No white man speaks to me the way Rupert speaks to your ministers. Ask Mbalula. Mbalula utawubuja. He will tell you. Wala need Mbalula. Rupert ila mo address. Aile golf ngaro way yak ailwe. Where you going? Our address Rupert. If you don't return Praveen, I'm taking my things, I'm leaving. You must try that with the EFF. If you don't do this, I'm taking my things, I'm leaving. Don't have time for that. China, Russia, we're going to work with them on our own terms. The Chinese don't go around Africa stealing anything from Africans. Your corrupt leaders overcompensate in exchange for something personal. That's what happens. The Chinese don't steal anything. They are in business. When the more you give them, the better for them. Why must they say no? Your leaders are not negotiating in good faith. They are negotiating with their families in mind. That's why they overcompensate. So we have no such a relationship with China. We've got a socialist and developmental relationship with China, and we know that China will help us. Russia is not our friend ideologically. We are with Russia in its fight against Ukraine because we know it's a NATO fight. It's not a Ukraine fight. So that NATO can expand its territory and be closer to Russia and undermine Russia. For that, we'll be with Russia because we can't allow territorial expansion of imperialism and colonialism in whatever direction. But Putin is not left. The government of Russia is not left ideological. If anything, Putin will be more aligned with the US in terms of policy and ideology, except their fundamental differences on imperialism, where Russia feels that America wants to control it through expanding the military base of NATO, because the military base of NATO is an American military base. So we are with Russia in that context. Not that ideologically we are aligned. But with Vietnam, with Cuba, with China, it's a clear ideological alignment of the left forces. And that's where we belong. And we don't isolate anyone. So we are driven by development in this country. We want development. We want to rebuild the infrastructure of this country. We want the rail to work again. We want to remove the trucks on the road, and then we take them back to the railway lanes. Because our roads are not safe, they will be damaged, and the trucks on the road are not safe for the road users. We want to rebuild the water infrastructure of this country. We want to expropriate all buildings that are not used for any purpose to convert them into social housing and give them to our people so that they can stay close to where they work. We are an organization in a mission to restore the teaching profession and pay teachers proper salaries so that we restore their dignity in society. We grew up teachers being respected. Today, teachers can't afford a subsidized house. A teacher who taught me driving Corolla, at that time, they are still driving it till to date because they can't afford a new car. What type of government are we which neglects such people who play an important role? Seated here, you might not have passed through the hands of a policeman. You might not have passed through the hands of a prison warder. But all of us, we passed through the hands of a teacher. And we are ungrateful for what those people have done for us. The nursing profession was beautiful. Even the ugliest nurse was beautiful because the profession was beautiful. Nicely paid. The nurses nicely dressed. The nurses' faces welcoming. Not these ones that we're seeing now, who speak to you like you are about to be beaten. Because their anger comes from the conditions they work in. And worse, in those conditions, they are not paid anything. The policeman who chase after dangerous criminals. Here is a criminal who stole 20 million cash. You go catch the criminal. He says to you, "I take 2 and leave." And then you remember that this could be between me and the poverty at home. They get tempted. We need to reward them for catching dangerous criminals. We need to reward them for killing cash in transit criminals. Those ones, they must not negotiate with them. Because those ones of cash in transit, they are dangerous criminals. They are the army. They are the army. Look at the kind of weapons they use. Police must drop them. And after dropping them, we must reward them. We must reward the police who drop cash in transit haste criminals. We must reward the police who arrest rapists and investigate that rape case successfully and prosecute it successfully. There must be a reward for that. Today, Ramaphosa, as he steals that slush funds of the intelligence, today, the informers in communities, informers, are no longer given money. There is a intelligence, crime intelligence slush funds that is given to informers. They are saying each informer can be given more than 500 rand. Imagine the informer that informed the police about that gangster in Thohoyandou, which they killed, 20 or something in one house, who were planning to go and do cash in transit in Thohoyandou. And that time when they were killing those criminals at Thohoyandou, that was the period where cash in transit in Thohoyandou was a daily bread on the streets. They killed those criminals. That thing stopped. Because it was them who were committing it. Imagine a person who gave us that information and saved us a lot of money and life, given 500 rand. And then he's paid more than Kumbuzo Nchabeni, who has got no role, nothing, except to be a lobbyist of a president. The EFF government will reward the police informers depending on the size and the magnitude and the impact of the information they gave us. Roba fa tšhelete. That's how we're going to defeat crime. We need to reward informers. We need to pay the police. We need to give police equipment. I said at the rally, I can't remember, that most of you, as you were traveling to this rally, you didn't see a single police van in a country that has got serious crime. From Hyde Park to here. And Hyde Park is suburbs, that's where the police must be, and that's where the rich are. I've not seen a single police van. What about Malamulele? If there's no van here, what about the villages that don't have exposure? We can't have that. We have to have police visibility, including random operations by soldiers. Soldiers must not just sit there. There must be from time to time assignments for them so that they keep fit and their brain functions properly. Otherwise, they will be consumed by alcohol. That we are going to rebuild the state and build the state capacity to deliver to our people. We don't want tenders. Tenders are a source of corruption. Tender to buy toilet paper. How do you have a tender like that? When you've got a receptionist, when you've got a messenger who can be sent to go and buy toilet paper, tender to buy toilet paper of 20 rand. One toilet paper is going to be sold for 700 rand. And then you come and say there's no money. Tenders must be on complicated stuff. Cleaning tender. For what? For who? When we've got so many unemployed people, you still have the luxury of issuing out a tender for cleaning when you could be hiring people permanently. The Boers did that. When they did a Transnet, when they did Eskom, when they did Foscor, they were doing it for whites who didn't go, for Afrikaners who didn't go to school to come and work there. We don't have a plan about these unemployed people because we are told there is no money. Cleaning services, security guard. Why must we outsource security guards? To a point where we outsource security guards to police station. Police station to guard police. There is a tender to guard police by security guards. Police are supposed to be the most dangerous armed people. They are being guarded. So we don't want that such a tender. Police will guard police. Especially these ones who are graduates from college. That's where their training is going to come from. That's where their practicals are going to come from. So we are an organization on a mission. All of these, comrades, it will be done with political will. You just need someone who's got a will to do it. We'll do it. We'll have the best run SABC. Not a politically manipulated SABC. Not a politically biased SABC. We need men and women of professionals to run that institution because we don't have money for it. We can't give it money. It must generate enough for itself. But people can only advertise in that SABC if it's objective. And objectivity will attract viewership. And with viewership is advertisement. No one will be asked, imagine, you run a campaign for people to pay license. My wife was reminding me that she's going to renew her disc license for the car. She doesn't want anyone to remind her of that. Why? It's useful for her. So she knows she must go and renew it. No one must remind her because this is useful for her. If TV license becomes useful to us, and we know what we are paying for. Who must remind us to pay for TV license? When we've got responsibility as communities and society, and we see value in that, we'll revive the SABC. We'll make it work. We'll make PRASA work. We'll make Transnet work. We'll make SAA work, because we don't want profit out of SAA. We want it to generate sufficient funds to run itself. We don't want to use it for money. It's not why it was created. It was state intervention in transport, in that means of transport. Because if we don't have state-sponsored airline, only the rich will fly. All of us to reach Cape Town, that train which gets stuck all the time, we're going to be subjected to it. Only whites will fly if there is no state intervention with the SAA airline. SAA is still running today. They said they bought it with 57 rand. I can't tell you seated here, go and book SAA flight. If you want to be late with 3 hours, 3, you enter SAA flight at 7, you leave at 10. Now, yet we're told it's being outsourced so that it can be better. The SAA is worse than what it was under Dudumien. Just book a ticket and go into that thing. And the problem, once you book in the bag, you can't get out. Now I try to leave where I'm leaving, but the problem, maybe you want to leave a bomb here, especially when. So, why would the SAA not work with so much interest? Not only in the continent, not only in the province, in the country. The continent and the world at large wants us. We were the best airline. If we were the best airline then, we can still be the best airline now. If men and women who are willing to run this thing are there. Not for profit, not for corruption, but for state development. Today, in all of this poverty, where is the Minister of Finance? What does the Minister of Finance have to say? There's nothing that is running properly. And you have no Minister of Finance. And your president, who's indecisive, has got no capacity to move on the guy and get the best man for the job. Wabana, sometimes it's better to have a sputa. Ne? Ano le baizisha ugaru busy nyana, so ano pretend ugaru busy man. Jalo, Enoch, he doesn't pretend anything, nothing. The man is not there. We are swimming in poverty. Obana Minister of Finance, I not to address a seminar, we are working like this, we are putting this there and then remove. Oh, okay. The money man is talking now. Even in the crisis we find ourselves in, where Pravin is collapsing state entities, the Minister of Finance is nowhere to be found. Musho Uwili. This government has collapsed. Whether you guys like it or not, we are on an autopilot. Thanks to the EFF, there will be government of the people that will center the development of the people. Not profit at all cost, not corruption at all cost. We are running Ekurleni. We are running Joburg. We are now going for how long now? More than a year. Towards a year. Not a single one of our people has been accused of corruption. Not one. Or maladministration, or soliciting bribes. We don't do that. Not one. And shame, they are waiting for one. Not they are waiting for one. You are waiting for one. Thank you very much.